Herman Cain found out what it's like to be the front runner in the Republican presidential contest. At a debate in Nevada last night, the other GOP hopefuls jumped on Cain's 999 plan, which calls for a 9% corporate tax, a 9% income tax, and 9% federal sales tax.
One thing I know about Congress, being a member of Congress for 5 years, is that anytime you give the Congress a brand new tax, it doesn't go away. When we got the income tax in 1913, the top rate was 7%. By 1980, the top rate was 70%. If we give Congress a 9% sales tax, how long will it take a liberal president and a liberal Congress to run that up to maybe 90%?
He also doesn't have anything that takes care of the families. I mean, you have a situation where under Herman's plan, a single person pays as much in taxes as a man and a woman raising 3 children. Ever since we've had the income tax in America, we've always taken advantage of the fact that we want to encourage people to have children and not have to pay more already to raise children, but also pay that additional taxes. We gave some breaks for families. He doesn't do that in this bill, and we've seen that happen in Europe. And what happened? Boom! Birth rates went into the basement.
Herman, I love you, brother, but let me tell you something. You don't have to have a big analysis to figure this thing out. Go to New Hampshire where they don't have a sales tax and you're fixing to give them one. They're not interested in 999. What they're interested in is flatter and fair. Right here in Nevada, you got 8+%. You want 9 cents on top of that, and 9 cents on a new home, or 9% on a new home, 9% on your Social Security, 9% more? I don't think so, Herman. It's not going to fly.
And the worst part about it is it's regressive. A lot of people aren't paying any taxes, and I like that. I don't think that we should even things up by raising taxes. So it is a regressive tax, so it's very, very dangerous in that thing, and it will raise more revenues. But the gentleman asked the question, he didn't even ask what we're talking about. He asked the question, what are you going to replace the income tax with? And I say nothing. That's what we should replace it with.
We got a lot of people in this state, 13.4% of the people in this state out of work. We got home prices going down. We got to talk about how to get America growing again, how to start adding jobs, raising incomes, and tax is part of it. I want to reduce taxes on our employers to make it easier to invest in America. I want to reduce taxes on middle-income families. I like your chutzpah on this, Herman, but I have to tell you, the analysis I did, person by person, return by return, is that middle-income people see higher taxes under your plan. If it's lower for the middle class, that's great, but that's not what I saw.
I favor very narrow, focused tax cuts such as zero capital gains, 100% expensing, because I think, as Governor Romney said, jobs are the #1 challenge of the next 2 or 3 years. Get something you can do very fast. Change on this scale takes years to think through if you're going to do it right.
Meanwhile, Cain, the former CEO of Godfather's Pizza, defended his 999 plan early and often.
It is a jobs plan. It is revenue neutral. It does not raise taxes on those that are making the least. All of those are simply not true. The reason that our plan is being attacked so much is because lobbyists, accountants, politicians, they don't want to throw out the current tax code and put in something that's simple and fair. They want to continue to be able to manipulate the American people with a 10 million word mess.
So for more on last night's debate, we are joined by CBSNews.com senior political reporter Brian Montopoli. Thanks for being with us, Brian.
Great to be here. As
we heard there, it seems like the candidates were throwing their firepower against Herman Cain's 999 plan. How did he respond?
Well, he responded with some facts that I have to say I'm going to have to call him on. I mean, he said that his tax plan is not going to raise taxes on the lowest income people. That's just not true. According to the analyses that are out there, and now he'll say he has his own analysis that counters that, it will do that. It is a tax that increases taxes, it's a plan that increases taxes on the poor and lowers taxes on the rich. Now, it simplifies the tax code and that appeals to a lot of people. But fundamentally, he is a little bit exposed on 999. Catchy slogan, but when you look at the details, I think people are starting to raise a lot of questions.
But when you look at the poll numbers, Herman Cain is doing quite well. When it is time for the primary voting, can this guy really do it?
I hate to say this, but I don't think so. And the reason for that is this. Money a lot of times decides these races. If you look at 2008, you had Huckabee, a guy who made a splash early but just faded because he couldn't get the support of the establishment. Mitt Romney and Rick Perry have $14–15 million in the bank. Herman Cain doesn't. He has about $1 million. Now, he's trying to raise more money, but how do you build your organization in the early states? How do you staff up? How do you run ads to create contests with rivals? I mean, people like me are focused on this campaign very clearly, but a lot of Americans don't know who these people are yet. The way that they find out about them is these advertisements. At the Iowa caucuses, you have an organization and they load people up and take them to the caucuses. All of that stuff costs money. Cain doesn't have it. And I think it's going to, if he's able to win this nomination, it's going to be by throwing out all of the things that have worked in past campaigns. Now, I'm not saying that that can't happen, but until one sees it happen, it's a little hard to believe in it.
Meanwhile, Romney and Rick Perry really went at it. Some testy moments there between those two. Is this a way for Rick Perry to really get back into this game?
He had to do something, right? Rick Perry has had such terrible debate performances. He looked a little lost. He's just not really stepped forward. Now, this debate, I sort of score as a draw for Rick Perry because on the one hand, he did show some firepower. He did go at Romney in a way that I think his supporters are saying, finally, here we go. He's showing some signs of life. At the same time, he had some tough moments. It was a little bit combative with Romney. I don't think either of them looked particularly presidential. I think if anybody won the debate last night, it was probably Barack Obama because all of these guys sort of looked, they were bickering and they just didn't look particularly presidential.
Speaking of President Obama, in the latest CNN poll, Mitt Romney has 41% who say that he can actually beat President Obama come next November. Yet, it doesn't seem like conservatives are really throwing their support behind him. Why is that, and how can he actually win? I
think that's an understatement. I mean, Mitt Romney, he's like John Kerry in 2004. He's the candidate that everyone is sort of saying, okay, we can deal with this guy, but nobody particularly is very excited about him. I mean, look, Romney, when he was governor of Massachusetts, he was a moderate. This is a guy who has shifted right on a number of issues, and of course he signed this Romney Care law, this universal health care law in Massachusetts, that the Obama administration says was the model for the Obamacare law. I mean, that is tough for the conservative base to get over. I mean, they've been looking for their savior. They thought it was Rick Perry. They thought maybe it was Michelle Bachmann. Now they're talking about Herman Cain. But they don't seem to be able to really coalesce around anyone. And Romney looks like the last man standing.
Let's talk about former Utah Governor Jon Huntsman. We did not see him at this debate. He's boycotting this. And he says that the problem is the Republican primary calendar here. Is this going to help his campaign at all?
Jon Huntsman has to find a way to make a play. He's got no money. His campaign hasn't gotten off the ground, so he's going all in on New Hampshire. He's a guy who's more moderate than the rest of the field, and so he feels like New Hampshire is his best bet. It's not full of social conservatives like Iowa or South Carolina. It's a state where he feels like he can compete. So he has nothing to lose by boycotting this debate, by pledging his fealty to New Hampshire. The complexity of the Republican primary calendar, however, is something that is driving everyone crazy, including myself.
Yeah,
because
it seems like it keeps shifting, and people are either not supportive of it, don't know what it's going to do, fearful of it. What's the real deal?
The real deal is all of these states want the prime position because they want the money that comes with that. They want the influence that comes with it. There are all of these rules that the state parties have. Iowa has to go first. New Hampshire has to be the first primary, all of this stuff. But states move up. They violate the party rules. Florida has done that. Nevada's done it now. And so the jockeying is going on. It should finally settle down with Iowa on the 3rd, hopefully New Hampshire on the 10th, and then we really get rolling in January. So that's what it looks like, but it's still anybody's guess, and it's driving the campaigns crazy.
Kind of a moving target still.
Yeah,
all right, Brian Montopoli, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure, thanks.
Always appreciate it.